Chapter 2, The North European Woodlands. We continue exploring the diversity of environments and wildlife that has evolved in our planet 30 million years after the extinction of mankind. This time we find ourselves in a temperate deciduous forest that covers most of the north of Europe. Hundreds of thousands of 40 meters tall trees stand over what used to be part of Germany. We adventure into the depths of this woodlands to find out what kind of creature we can encounter. After a few minutes we encounter a group of birds, a group of 7-foot tall terrestrial birds that spend the day foraging for food in the forest floor. The European Racken is one of the largest birds that we can find currently living in the planet. From all the species of flightless bird that populate the planet, the European Racken is the second largest, only surpassed by their African cousins. They live in polygynous groups, where a rooster mates with several females. There is a strict hierarchy among the females, and it reflects on their nesting behavior, as they use a system of communal nesting where the dominant female makes sure her eggs are at the center of the nest. The male that is slightly bigger than the females take most of the responsibility of incubating the eggs. However, after the eggs hatch, the chicks are born pretty much ready to take care of themselves. Even thought these birds are mostly herbivorous, they do sometimes eat small bits of carrion. Not so far away a hamhare is also foraging for food. These little creatures proliferate through all of Europe and part of Asia. They are descendants of the Siberian dwarf hamster, and they do share many similarities with their ancestors, except for their size. They weigh up to 100 times more. About 3 kilograms. They sleep inside their burrows for most of the day, and are most active during dawn and dusk. They spend most of their active time looking for food. During winter their fur changes color from the usually gray palette to a pure white. This allows them to camouflage in the snow. This is not new, but a trait they have kept from their ancestors. As soon as the hamhare notices our presence, it swiftly runs away to the safety of its burrow. As we continue exploring, we stumble upon a couple of buntores. This 100 kilograms herbivore is a descendant of modern rabbit. Just like their ancestors, they are excellent at digging. But instead of creating elaborate tunnel systems to hide from predator, these animals use their strong front limbs and tough claws to dig out tubers and mushrooms. They also feed on grass, berries, and nuts. Their long ears help them detect any predator that tries to approach them, and even though they look chunky, they are quite the fast runners, reaching speeds of up to 40 km per hour in short bursts. The coloration of their fur varies depending on the region, with the ones that live in the north tending towards a gray or grayish-brown coloration, while the ones that live to the south tending to have a golden coat. They tend to live in small groups, formed by a monogamous couple and their offspring. After they reach sexual maturity, they will go away to live on their own and try to find their own mate. Suddenly the silence and calm of the forest gets interrupted by a loud guttural sound, something between a growl and a roar. From between the foliage, a large animal about the same size of a black bear, armed with 8 centimeters long fangs and 5 centimeters long claws, emerges. The emperor ferret is one of the largest carnivorous mammals alive, and just as their ancient relatives from the Anthropocene, is a proficient and fierce predator. They are solitary and extremely territorial. The males mark their territory with a smelly substance that they produce from their anal glands. When a male trespasses the territory of another, it almost always ends up in a physical confrontation. The females, on the other hand, are more tolerant towards each other. In occasions, sisters of the same litter will continue living together through all their lives, but is not common. Like most members of the family Neomustella, their hunting strategy is based around ambushing their prey and deliver a single powerful bite, either to the neck to try to break the neck vertebrae or to the legs to immobilize their prey. Once the killing is done, they eat as much as their stomach can take and bury the rest for later. Not too far away we can hear the sound of water. Following it we arrive to a wide and clear river, and just like the forest that surrounds it, trimming with life, Not only several species of fish, frogs, and crustaceans proliferate here, but also a few talpins. This semi-aquatic creatures that average 10 kilograms in weight are descendants of the common European mole. They thrive in almost every lake, river, and swamp of Europe and Asia. Just like the common mole, they have a very poor eyesight, relying on their sensitive snouts full of tiny epidermal sensory structures called Eimer's organs, a structure shared with all the member of the mole family, but instead of having them only in their nose. The talpins have them also around their lips. Whenever something swims near their jaws, they catch them with a single swift and accurate movement. They are excellent swimmers and are able to dive for long periods of time while searching for food, but inland they are rather slow and clumsy. They spend the night hiding in small burrows. Their social behavior is almost non-existent. They tend to ignore each other's presence, and aside from mating they don't really interact. At the other side of the river, a herd of Millins are refreshing themselves. These sheep-sized rodents are highly social, always living in large groups of between 30 and 50 individuals. These groups tend to have a very loose hierarchy, almost always leadered by an elderly female. They rely on each others for safety, with some member of the group taking on the role of sentinel and always keeping an eye on predators. They communicate with a wide variety of noises and have a different call to alert the presence of different predators. They mate year-round, peaking in spring. The pregnancy is very short for an animal their size, about 3 months, and they can get pregnant as soon as they give birth. They are strict herbivores, feeding mostly on leaves and fruits. The European red peach, a descendant of modern domestic peach, is one of their favorite foods. They also enjoy a wide variety of berries and play a key role in seed dispersal for several species of the North European forest. Suddenly one of the sentinels squeaks and the herd starts running. The reason? A pack of predators has been following them. These vicious creatures are called Black Deaths, and are one of the most successful and proficient predators that has ever terrorized the continent. With an average height of 1.2 meters and a weight of 50 kilograms, these flightless birds, descendants of modern crow, thrive in all sorts of environment, including forests, shrublands, open plains, and tundras. They have a remarkable intellect that they inherited from their ancient relatives, but instead of using it to get worms and crack nuts, they apply highly coordinated pack hunting strategies to bring down prey several times their own weight. We see how the pack quickly separates a weak and sick member of the herd and drive it to the depths of the forest, purposely directing it to zones of dense vegetation where it is harder for the prey to run and maneuver. Once the prey is cornered, they jump on top of it and use their claw to finish the job. They use their hooked beaks to open the carcass and get access to the innards and flesh of the prey. We observe the pack take some pieces of meat after they finish eating and carrying them back to their nest. Once we arrive to the nest, we see that the dominant pair delivers the meat to other pack members that were waiting on the nest, a couple chicks no more than a month old, a juvenile female, probably one of their daughters, and an elderly male, probably the father of one of the adults. These birds have really strong family bonds, and they have been observed taking care of their parents, feeding them once they are too old to hunt on their own.